Alright, I got the first round of parts in. We got a radiator. This is all OEM. Radiator, bumper absorber. Still waiting on the rebar to come in. I bought it used. AC condenser. Got some coolant here to top it off with. I'm going to reuse what was in it, but I'll need some to top it off. This is the latch brace that goes from the upper radiator support down to the bottom in front of the condenser. We've got the three, well actually there's one short here, they got to get me another one. 3 foam seals for the radiator. Those go around the top, bottom, and sides. There's foam seal it to the support. I got one of the AC condenser O-rings. I'm waiting on one more of those. This is not from Toyota, but this is from a place called connectorexperts.com. This is where I get connectors. They're pretty pricey, but you can't get them anywhere else usually. This one right here was about $90. They're proud of it, but it's the only place you can get it typically. I got a new headlight in here, and I'm still waiting on. I think this grill was back ordered. I'm still waiting on that to come in. And I've got the new OEM bumper over there. Just got it set on the car out of the way. I'm going to start sanding this out with 400. I'm going to block these areas here in the front where the bodywork was, and the rest of it will just get a DA with 400. And then I'll go back and finish sanding the rest of the back of the hood. I just did what I had to do to get it primed. Next thing I'm going to do is get everything out of the boxes, make sure everything's right. That'll give me time to correct it. If not, I'll have to go back to the dealer and get that straightened out. But part numbers are right, so they should be okay. Alright, the hood's ready to paint. I just need to mask the car off. And since I want to be able to paint the inside lip here at the same time as the outside, I'm going to go ahead and I've got it prepped here, but I'm going to go ahead and shut it down, have it sealed everywhere and masked off just for the outside, but I still have access to this once it shuts down because I don't have anything here in the way. I've got it back masked here, just rolled back. I'm going to blend the paint in this direction. I'll probably spray it that way to begin with. When I get the clear going, I may miss some back that way, but I've got it rolled across this edge, all the way across. Just enough to give me some space in there to color that while the hood's down. I don't want to have to lift it up. If I lift it up to do that and then drop it, then I'm going to mess up everything I did around the side to mask it. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it down, get the plastic on the car and get it all sealed. Still need to actually put some foam in here. I'll go back and do that to seal that off. I'm going to seal the whole hood white. I had to go a little further back with the primer than I really wanted to because I found some more chips back in here. So I'm just going to seal the whole hood and paint the whole thing. I won't be able to blend anything, but I'll do that. Let this set up. I went ahead and put the radiator in so I can move it around the garage here. But once I get everything else finished here, get this painted and get condenser and all that put in, rebar and all the other trim pieces and headlights, I'll paint the bumper and have that ready to go. I'll do it separately. Okay, I've got the the plastic trimmed out around the hood. Cut it here so I can put some tape behind the back and stick it down to that. But before I stuck that, I lifted the hood up and I took the excess that was around the hood. I just trimmed around the back of the hood and those three sides. And then I folded it back, opened the hood up, and then I threw this plastic inside because I'm going to have access to this part of the hood with it down. So all this is going to be open to overspray. So I just took that piece that I folded back, opened the hood, and threw it in here. I've got it anchored down with tape, did a couple of spots. So when I set the hood down and I go to spray in here, everything's sealed. And I can spray, I'll probably spray this direction from one side, come over here, spray it that way, just so that I can get the paint back behind the sealer. If I spray this direction straight onto it, I'll have to tilt my gun back too far. I won't get any paint out of it. So I'll spray down this direction, turn around, and spray back the other way. So now all I need to do is pick this part up, tape it to the car, and tape around the back, and it'll be ready to go. Everything's ready to go. First thing I'm going to do is spray some adhesion promoter underneath the front edge of the hood where I've got to do that little spot repair underneath where I put the seam sealer. That'll make sure everything sticks in there real well. Plus I've got to blend it on each edge. I'm going to put a little bit of this over there also. That'll give me time while this flashes to get the sealer mixed up, get it on the top of the hood. And then by that time I can come back and spray some of the sealer underneath over this. Alright, I think this needs about 15 to 20 minutes. So it'll take me about at least 5 minutes to get the sealer mix and another 5 or 10 to get it on there. Then come back and spray some on the underside where I just put that. Right back to the base coat. This is the first coat of base. back in a minute for clear. Alright, the base coat's been flashing for about an hour, hour and a half. I'll show you the first coat of clear and then an after shot. Here's a quick walk around. Came out pretty slick. Got the typical dust nibs that I normally get, no big deal. Still got a little bit of dry spray through the center, so I just pounded that after I came across to the middle and did about 2 or 3 passes over here. I came back and looked at it and had to add a bunch right in the center. I just try to flood that area when I'm going across it, and for some reason it gets dry every time. A lot of the reason is I don't have enough light. I need another light. You can see the reflection of that wall light right there, and it stops about the center of the hood. I need to get another one of those and mount it from there all the way up, and that should reach across, and I can see a little bit more of what I'm doing right there in the center. I can pull the vehicle all the way up underneath these 3 lights. Well, that's actually 4, but 1 long one here. They're put together, these 2. I can put the hood in here, but I don't like having it directly in the path of the airflow, because that's where all the junk in the air is going. It gets pulled out, so I don't want to pull it across the panel. So I like to leave it back here. But I really need a little bit more light. That would help. Finish is just about perfect as far as texture goes, but I'm going to have to denib a little bit of it. I'll be back when I get a little more done. Okay, I'm working on the hood latch support. I'm going to try to match this right here. Factory put on a olive green e-coat, then sprayed it white, and then put some black over the center section where you can't see it. Mounts in here like this. I could just leave the piece in there in black e-coat, but that's not really the proper way to do that. Plus it'll give it a little more paint for corrosion protection. I'm going to spray the whole thing, mostly just the inside, I guess, just because I'm going to put so much white on the outside, but you can see a little bit of green there. I'm going to cover mainly the inside of the channel with the olive green easy coat, and this is a pretty close match. I've got a spray out card, it's almost exact. It's close enough for this. So I'll coat the whole thing inside and part of the outside where it's going to get seen, and I'm going to hang it up in this position, spray white to try to mimic the overspray pattern to where you still see some green there. Then I'll come back with some flat black and just spray the bottom section to match this. I'm just scuffing it right now with a red pad, and I'm going to hang it up. I'm going to hang it by this hole, this hole here, because that's where the bolt goes through. So if I miss a little bit of paint right there on that edge of that hole, it won't show. So I'll hang it there, spray it, just hang it off the side of the rack here and spray it. Here it is with the Easy Coat green, olive green. Got inside and out. Factory would have coated the whole thing because it would have been dipped in that. I'm going to come back and shoot the front white from this direction, just like they would have done, and then flat black most of the front of it up towards the top. I'm actually going to wait until I spray the bumper so that I've got some white out. I don't have a spray can of white. I think they make this Easy Coat. I've got it in tan and olive green. I think they make it in an actual white, or either it's a factory package base coat color, just in an aerosol. I think I may get a can of white just to have, just for running into white cars like this, where I need to spray small parts, hood hinges, things like that. If for some reason I don't have paint already out. And this is solvent based, no hardener in it, so I can spray the base coat on it later and it'll dissolve it a little bit and stick to it. So I'm not worried about letting it sit for a few days like this. Plus, it's not really going to be a part that's got to be out in the weather or in the sun or anything like that. So it'll be fine to have it sit here for a couple of days till I get the base coat out for the bumper. I'm getting ready to do this wiring repair. You can't really tell every time which two pins went where in the connector. It could have gone this way or this way. But looking at the original one, I've kept all these little pieces just so I could do this. As you can see right there on the back side, it's the only part that's damaged. Right inside there. This side over here is pretty well smooth, and the retaining tab is still here. As you can see, that groove on that side is the only one with damage. And so I know that this pin was in that position right here. See how deformed it is. And this one over here is undamaged. Plus, I can look at this clip and knowing which way the barbs have to line up. I can also tell because that barb has to go in and catch inside this groove, so I know it went in this way. So I'm going to mark the position of this one, and the other one's just going to go in the other slot. I'm going to go ahead and cut this sleeve off down here, and I want to keep as much of this color as I can, just so in case anybody ever needs to go in here and match these colors up for any reason. I don't think this will ever get used, but if it was on something that actually plugged into a component, you'd need to keep these colors at least somewhere in here just for troubleshooting later on in its life. But I'm going to cut these off and try to leave about 3 or 4 inches of that color there in case anybody needs to cut that back for any reason. And I'll splice into it here, and the new connector's actually got, it's a different color, they only had it in gray, but I'll splice in, I'll cut a lot of this wire off, but I'll splice it in, and this clip is built in the back. That clips into that slot right there in the hood latch brace. That's why I got hit. It's directly behind the rebar, and the rebar came back and just crushed this connector. But I'm gonna go ahead and get the sleeve off the harness right here and get the wiring exposed. I'm gonna cut it off and start the solder job. All right, bumper's ready to go. It's raw plastic. I've scuffed it down with gray Scotch-Brite. I've got to put an adhesion promoter on it now, so I'm going to get that ready to go here in a second. That's the 2330S. After that, I'll have to seal it. I'm going to use white sealer. Just makes sense. It's going to be a white bumper, so that'll help me with coverage. Once I get the white base coat out, I'll spray some of that on the hood latch support. I don't have it hanging out here right now just because I don't want overspray on it right now, but I'll get that out when I get the base coat out and hang it on the rack. I want to get the adhesion promoter ready to go now. And since this is plastic with no primer, it's got a lot of static in it, so I'm going to use this static control wipe. Usually takes me a couple of these on a bumper. There's not a whole lot of paintable area here, so I may get by with this one. But a lot of times this stuff dries faster than I can get it on there, so I end up going through a couple of them. And this is like a mid-temp range. That's all I've got. So let's try, see if I can get by with one of these. But you use this to kill the static, and it also acts as a tack rag. You're not supposed to tack afterward, because afterwards you'll just put static right back into it. So I'm going to wipe it down with this, let that dry thoroughly. It's mostly alcohol, so it'll clean it as well. Okay, I wiped it down again after the first one, blew it down and dried it with the spray gun. And if there's any dust nibs in the sealer, I can do that later, but I can't tack this right now, so I'm just going to let blowing it off be good enough. I don't see any dust on it, so I'm just going to go ahead and spray it with the adhesion promoter and come back, sealer right after that. I'm not worried about that center section at the top. That doesn't even need paint. I don't think the factory even got over there that far. I'm just going to make sure I get white on all the outside surfaces. The rest of it's covered by 2 grills. Time for the sealer. Base coat will be next. Alright, I'm ready for base coat. I don't quite have enough white for the actual Toyota white, so I'm going to use this old leftover taffeta white from Honda, from the hybrid Civic I just did a few weeks ago. I'm going to mostly focus on getting it up underneath the bottom of it and inside the light pockets, and then if I have any of this left, I'll do one coat around the outsides. But I don't have enough to do two full coats with the Toyota paint that I've got, so I'm going to go ahead and use this up. And that way I'll have enough to get at least the color up towards the top where it's got to match the fenders. I'll be able to put 2 full coats at least on that area and on the sides. I'm not too worried about under the bottom lip. That's all I'm going to do. This is a little bit yellow or white. The Toyota's only got white and black in it. This has a little bit of yellow also. So I don't want to go too much further up because I've got plenty of paint to do what I need to do now. Alright, it's clear coat time. We'll get one more coat and I'll be back in a little bit. Here it is. Finished about 10 minutes ago. Came out pretty nice. Always looks better with an OEM part. You don't get that wavy finish that you get in aftermarket parts. Everything's just straight. Nice and slick. Stayed pretty clean too. Let it sit here for at least a day. Go ahead and get the grills put in it, mount it to the car. That'll be the last thing this thing needs. I almost forgot to show you this piece. This is what I was trying to duplicate, where there's a little bit of white coverage, not full coverage, and then black, satin black up to about the bracket there. Came out pretty nice. You can tell a whole lot of difference in the two. This one's still drying, but I've got easy coat all around it. You can actually see the white on the back of this rib, just like they did here. They sprayed it from the front, so there's a little bit of white showing. You can still see a little bit of the green easy coat in there. So I think that's going to be pretty hard to notice that they've been replaced. Came out pretty nice. Get that bolted in, get the bumper over there put on, and I'll just need to do a little bit of buffing on the hood, get the dust nibs out. This thing will be ready to go. Got the Camry put together, and we'll give you a quick walk around. New bumper, new grills, new driver's side headlight, repair to the hood. Did a little bit of buffing and denibbing on the hood, not really that much, just to kind of even out the texture and get the dust nibs out. Looks brand new now. See you guys soon.